just suggest that we present ourselves very quickly and then we start with the presentation. So I let Mark start, maybe.
So hello, Mark Gazino. I am senior expert in electrical system in Airbus helicopters in Marignane. And Luca.
Yes, so my name is Luca Cossetti and I work in the research and technology department in Marignane, and I work especially on hybridization projects. That's why we are here today with Mark, to make you a short view, an overview of what we are doing, some of the projects that we are pushing on hybridization on helicopters. So just a quick summary to give you an idea of what we are talking about today. First of all, Mark will explain us briefly what hybridization can mean on helicopters. Then we will go through different applications and levels of hybridization that we have identified in our workshops, in our approach. Then we will have a more detailed examples of some of them, as I said before, some of these projects with some details of what we are looking for, which are the power levels and so on. And finally, we will have a look with Mark again on the main challenges that we see in terms of hybrid propulsion system on helicopters and their certification. So I suggest that we start. I'll give you the floor.
So to start, maybe we can come back to some basics. So this is architecture of electrical power system, not electrical system, but power system for helicopters. So you know it, you have thermal engines, one or several thermal engines, which providing power supplied by energy, fuel. So this power provided by the mechanical engine is transmitted to gearbox, and this mechanical power is transferred to rotors, main rotors, tail rotors of the helicopter for the lift and the sustentation of the aircraft. So the engine can be started autonomously by batteries, or you may have also APUs for other onboard system, for also propulsion system or non-propulsive system, and the engine and the main gearbox can provide also power to onboard system, non-propulsive, like electrical system, hydraulic system, or ECS system. So we will focus in the next slides on the propulsion systems, not on the non-propulsive system. So when we are talking about hybridization of the propulsion system, what does that mean? What can we do with an electrical system to help to support the helicopter for some purpose? So we will see, and you will see in the next slide some application and some function. But in terms of architecture, what is the signification of hybridization? So hybridization means we will add another type of energy to propose or to support the thermal system with providing the lift and the thrust of the helicopter. And we can do it in several ways, in fact. Some examples, maybe it's not exhaustive, but some examples of the way we can help the propulsion. The first one is what we call micro-hybrid system. Micro-hybrid system is the aim is in fact is not to provide directly the power to the propulsion, but to help the thermal engine in some phases, and we will see in the following example what we can do with that to support the thermal engine. Another possible architecture is what we call the serial hybrid. Serial hybrids means that you have a thermal engine. The thermal engine can drive a generator. The generator can supply an electrical motor or several electrical motors, and these motors can provide the mechanical power to the rotors, main rotors, tail rotors, directly or through gears or through gearbox. And another possible application is to have a direct drive of the tail rotor by electrical machine, for example. And last example we have put in this scheme is parallel, what we call the parallel hybrid. That means that you have a thermal engine, one or several thermal engine, and in parallel to this thermal engine, you can implement an electrical system that can provide in parallel to the thermal engine power to the rotors. So other ways, in fact, to describe architecture and to describe hybridization is through the level of power and the proportion of electrical system compared to the thermal system. It is in these schematics. In fact, we use the same wording, the same words and architecture that is used in automotive industry. This is the reason why we put a lot of parallel, in fact, between the aeronautics and the automotive industry. But we have a main difference compared to the automotive. We are not the possibility to recover energy as it is done in a car, for example, when you are in a braking situation. For an helicopter or for an aircraft, it's not possible. So if you stop the energy, stop the power, you stop the lift. So it's not possible. So coming back to the figures, so you can see in the vertical axis some power levels, or it's to give you some random of magnitude. For sure, it depends of the platform, it depends of the weight of the helicopter, it depends of the architecture and the mission profile you want to implement. But that gives some order of magnitude of what kind of level of power we need to implement for such a system, to have some effective also solutions to help the helicopter. And in the horizontal axis, in fact, you have the proportion of electrical system compared to the thermal system. Zero means in the left right means you will be fully thermal. There is no hybridization. In the right side, 100% means you are full electric. This is the eVTOL architecture or the full aircraft or full helicopter architecture. In between, you can see several areas where we can identify the possibility to implement certain level of power for certain architecture and certain support of the electrical propulsion system, sorry. So coming back to the previous architecture, you can recognize the microhybrid here. For the microhybrid, we are talking about some tens of kilowatts, from 10, 20 up to 100 kilowatts, for a duration of few seconds, less than 1 minute. So you can see the proportion of the electrical system for the propulsion is very limited. When we start increasing the power, mild hybrid, for example, so you can see the level of power can go up to 100, 200, 300 kilowatts. So that brings the possibility to really help the propulsion in flight by putting sufficient level of power compared to the thermal system. But in this mild hybrid architecture, the electrical system is never used alone during the flight. In the following application, what we call the mild hybrid, in this case, the level of power increase, level of duration also increase, and in this case, we propose to use the electrical system also alone during the aircraft, but for a limited duration due to the limited amount of energy installed on board. Okay, first step.
Okay, we can see the same kind of picture in the next slide that we have prepared. So here you have mainly the different applications that we will address in details just after this slide. So the first column in green is the micro hybrid, the orange one is the mild hybrid, and the full hybrid is the violet one. And we leave outside the scope today the eVTOL full electric stuff, which is a specific topic on itself. So the idea is to show you what we are looking for in terms of value with our hybridization approach. So for the first column, when you have micro-hybridization, what we are looking for are mainly consumption and range. So performance in terms of range for the customer, they can go farther with a more economic power plant, thanks to the fact that we can, and we'll see it later, switch off one of the twin engines. On the what we call engine backup system, so the mild hybrid application that we are testing today, this year, and we will show it just a bit later. What we are looking for is safety first, so for facilitating the auto rotation to the pilot in case of engine failure. But we are also looking at performance. Performance meaning takeoff weight increase. So we are testing the possibility to increase the takeoff weight of a single engine platform thanks to the presence of the hybrid propulsion system. And also some gains in terms of noise, because we could probably decrease a bit the speed of the rotor in some conditions thanks to the presence of the hybrid system, capable of, let's say, avoiding significant drops of rotor speed in case of engine failure. So these are the values that we are looking for with our mild hybrid application. And for the parallel hybrid, which is higher power, around 200-300 kilowatts for a few minutes, let's say, depending on the case. Here we, as Mark was saying, we can look into parallel, let's say, propulsion system, where we propose to provide thermal and electrical power together. And in this case, we can really look to even more optimization in terms of emissions, as I said here, emissions, CO2 emissions, consumption, basically, so basically less consumption globally on the platform, and also keeping the advantage in terms of auto-rotation support, safety, for sure, noise decrease, and also additional options that we are studying about power boost and also improvement of the turboshaft functioning that can be really studied with the conjunction of thermal and hybrid power together in order to support each other in some conditions. So you can see the more you grow in power and duration energy, the more values you can look for. And this is really the core of our studies today at the moment in Airbus helicopters. So I propose that we go maybe to the next slide in details, and we start with the first column, the green one with micro-hybrid application.
Okay, so micro-hybrid application, as explained before, in fact, is not a really hybridization of the propulsion system. So micro-hybrid is to support the engine in some phases. So why we need to support the engine, and this is one application where we need a big support for the electrical system, is for what we call this eco mode, economic mode. Economic mode for a twin-engine helicopter. The aim, in fact, is to save some fuel, to reduce the emission by using only one engine in the cruise mode, to use this engine with its best efficiency, in fact, instead of splitting the power between the two engines with an efficiency lower than one engine alone. So the gain is to save emission, to save fuel, to increase the range. And for that, we need to stop one engine. In fact, we don't really stop one engine. We put one engine in a mode what we call sleeping mode. That means the engine continue to run, but is not autonomous. We help the engine, in fact, to be at a minimum speed, to be able, in fact, also to restart very quickly this engine, because if you have a failure of the running engine, for sure you have no more power and you can't continue the flight. You are in auto-rotation mode. So we need to restart very quickly this engine in few seconds to avoid the altitude drop, for example, during this phase. And it is the reason why we implement what we call the micro-hybrid system, is to support this reactivation phase, in fact, in the engine in a very short time. It looks like an engine start. You can say, okay, we have to restart the engine, but a normal start of the engine's duration is, so you know, it's 20, 30, 40 seconds, and it is clearly too long when you have an engine failure in this phase. So we need to reduce this engine start from 30 seconds to few seconds, then that 10 seconds. And to do that, in fact, the power of the electrical circuits, starting circuits, have to be multiplied by 2, 3, 4. This is the reason why we have such amount of power, 50, 100 kilowatt for such application we are ongoing, demonstration we are ongoing to demonstrate where we can very quickly start the engine.
Next one. Yes. So if we switch to the mild hybrid application, what we call engine backup system, you can see here in this slide what we are looking for. I said before, we have a certain amount of power, around 100 kilowatts, available for some kind of 30 seconds, 20, 30 seconds. And what we look for is safety, first of all, as it's written on the left, because we make the auto-rotation operation easier for the pilot. So we know that today is a maneuver which remains critical for pilots. They train this, but this emergency backup system can really help them to make it much more easily and smoothly if the failure occurs. So the first target is really safety. Second target that we are focusing on is performance. As I said before, we realize that if we are able to provide this amount of power during a failure or takeoff, for instance, we can increase the maximum takeoff weight of the platform significantly. And this is the work we are doing today with some testing of H130 platform that we will show later. And we are really working to bring this performance benefit together with the safety benefit, which is probably really a good value for customers using single engine helicopters. Third benefit, as I said before, noise reduction that we are addressing as well in parallel. As you can see on the screen, the idea is to increase this performance takeoff weight of the platform sufficiently high in order to compensate for sure the weight of the system, which is important. But we want to increase the takeoff weight much more in order to give to the customer the possibility to have extra payload or extra fuel for different missions in the more important payload. So that's the key feature of this system: safety and performance together for the customers. Just a quick look to the system, how it looks today. Just some simple sketches to give you an idea of what we are doing. We are installing, for instance, the batteries and the electrical components in the base, and on the top, on the main deck, we install an electrical motor on the gearbox. So something very simple and easy to install on this kind of simple H130 helicopter. The next slide is just a short video clip of the test we did last month. Here you will see just a simulation of the engine failure at roughly 10 feet from the ground, 7-10 feet, with and without the system, to give you an idea of the difference of having or not this 100 kilowatts in case of a simulation of engine failure close to the ground. Hopefully it will work. Let's try. So this is without the system. This is with the system. So you can hear probably the electrical motor, which we had the cam in the cockpit, so it was recorded quite well, which shows very well the rapidity, the speed of the system. It detects the failure basically instantaneously and provide power right off the bat, 100 kilowatts to the rotor to limit this drop speed and limit the acceleration, vertical acceleration at touchdown. So it's something that we are testing this way. We are doing many other points of the flight envelope to see the advantages and the benefits, but just to give you an idea of what we can gain with such amount of power, which is not huge, basically. 100 kilowatts, it's 1/5 of the power of the gearbox of the 130, so it's significant, but still manageable in terms of global mass of the system that we will for sure address for future project and certification later on. Next slide, I think, and I conclude, I guess, here for my part, the parallel hybrid approach. So in parallel to the EBS that we just observed, so 100 kilowatts more or less in case of failure, we are also addressing the parallel hybrid approach. You can see a bit here on the slide. The idea is, in this case, is to have sufficient power to continue the flight in case of engine failure. So the power will need to be higher, the energy will be higher to allow this, let's say, couple of minutes in our mind and our approach, continuous flight in case of engine failure. So the idea is really operational here, to be able to fly on areas where we don't fly today with an hybrid single engine helicopter, which is capable of, let's say, escaping from the area and land safely somewhere else. So this is a kind of big brother of our first EBS system, with the capability of really work together, thermal and electrical energy together, to provide this kind of feature, together with many other gains and optimization that we are studying beside this operational gain. So to finish this presentation, so after
I've presented the different application architecture. I think it's important also to come back to the challenges to implement such systems. So in the right side, you can see a generic schemes that show what can be installed when we are talking about hybridization. More in the technology bricks point of view. You have seen the architecture at the beginning. Here you are more at the technology bricks level with the thermal engine, with electrical motors, with controllers, with distribution, with gearbox. So a lot of different bricks with different technology we have to mix together. This is a generic architecture, for sure, depending the application. So you have seen before, it have to be adapted to the platform, to the power, to the voltage, for example, to the specific need. So the main challenges of this hybridization today is the performance, for sure, because we had components. We had high power, high energy component, electrical power, electrical energy component, and in particular for energy. So the energy density of a battery, for example, you know, it's very low compared to a fuel system. So the empty weight increase due to the hybridization is significant. So we have to work on the weight of the energy density, of the power density of the components for the performance point of view. But for sure it's not sufficient. We have to also to consider that when we are talking about 100, 200, 300 kilowatts, the amount of power we are installing for electrical system is much higher than we are currently doing in our current helicopter. On an Ecureuil, it's a 6 kilowatts electrical system. Here we are talking about several hundreds of kilowatts. So the electrical system brings new hazards, new risk, maybe not new, but additional consequences in terms of failures compared to what we have today in our helicopters. So at electrical, propulsion system point of view, so you can see 3 points we have identified. It's not exhaustive, but we wanted to highlight some points that have been addressed with also our authorities, with some standardization bodies and some discussion with also other EOM about the energy power management, for example. So when you install a thermal system or an electrical system, it is two systems which is managed very differently in terms of power and energy. Why? Because, for example, for a thermal system, the power and energy is very separated, very splitted. The power is provided by the engine, the energy is provided by the fuel. For an electrical system, when you are using a battery, power and energy are in the same box. And the power is dependent of the level of energy of the battery. So you cannot manage in the same way the both system. Independence and segregation, so when you have to install a new system for propulsion, if you claim for a certain level of safety, for sure, we need to address also the risk of installing in a very, very small area, like a small helicopter, for example, the both system. Control and monitoring, again, linked to the two different management of the system, how to display the amount of energy, the reserve, to the pilot to know what is the situation for this propulsion system is also a key topic to address. When we are going down to the electrical system, for example, we are talking about several hundred of kilowatts. We may speak about several hundred of kilowatts. That means that our current standards, current system are no more relevant and no more usable. So we can't speak about 28 volt. We can't speak about 150 volt. We will need to speak about 300, 400, up to 800 or 1 kilovolt system. So higher voltage level, which is not today standardized, it is completely new. Higher constraints in terms of quality. Bad quality of the electrical system is directly bad quality of the propulsion system, so we have to consider this point very accurately. Integration with the current electrical system, so you have seen the different level of voltage, the different level of power, so we have to rethink completely, I think, the new system for the future if you want to integrate such a system. New risk, also maybe not new, but as I said, additional consequence linked to the risks we already know due to electrical system. Short circuit, heating, thermal runaway for the components are known. So you well know the situation for the 787, but it was a small battery only to start. Here we have batteries that the amount of energy is 10 times that we have on the 787, for example. So the consequence will be higher. So a lot of discussion are ongoing and with EASA, with the standardization body to identify what we have to do to demonstrate that we install safe system for batteries, for electrical motors, for distribution also, and when we are talking about the components, with again the same fault we are currently on our system with huge amount of more consequence we have to consider. And the two main topics also, which is linked to also to safety, not only to the safety of the product itself or of the operation, is also the safety of the people, which is not on board, but the safety of the people who will have to manufacture, to install, to test, to maintain also the system. So these two topics have to be considered also in a good way to avoid also issues, not only in flight but in the preparation and in the maintenance. And we can maybe use experience and talk with our colleague from automotive to take this retext and experience from the hybrid cars that are already existing in the field. That's it, and thank you for your attention.